In today's Mystery of Black History, we highlight Booker T. Washington. It's 1901, President William McKinley is assassinated, U.S. Steel is founded by J.P. Morgan, and one of the most influential black men published his autobiography. Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington follows Booker from his earliest memories growing up in slavery to his respected yet at times controversial stature. Born in 1856 in Franklin County, Virginia on a slave plantation, Booker starts off saying, "My life had its beginnings in the midst of the most miserable, desolate, and discouraging surroundings. We slept in and on a bundle of filthy rags laid upon the dirt floor." Booker's mother was a plantation's cook, and he had a close relationship with his older siblings. However, he never knew his father. Agitation from the North had the South uneasy, and the onset of the Civil War made the entire country volatile. President Lincoln would become a fixture in the slaves' minds synonymous with freedom. Once the Civil War was underway, the two young masters from Booker's plantation would go on out and fight and come back injured. Booker spoke to the humanity and compassion the slaves showed the returning soldiers despite the circumstances. These types of sentiments Booker would carry throughout his entire life. After the South's defeat in the Civil War, slaves now turned freedmen had the responsibility of freedom in their possession. Booker goes on to state, "It was very much like suddenly turning a youth of 10 or 12 years out into the world to provide for himself. In a few hours, the great questions with which the Anglo-Saxon race had been grappling for centuries had been thrown upon these people to be solved. There were the questions of a home, a living, the rearing of children, education, citizenship, and the establishment and support of churches. To some, it seemed that, now that they were in actual possession of it, freedom was more of a serious thing than they had expected to find it." Booker and his family would walk a few hundred miles to West Virginia to go live with his stepfather. He and his brother started working in salt furnaces and coal mines. Around this time, Booker's mother was able to get a Webster spelling book for him, and Booker would go on to teach himself how to read. The Reconstruction era was in full swing, and though it provided some aid to the newly freed people, Booker's own struggle for an education spoke to the inadequacies of the United States' efforts. At the age of 16, Booker traveled some 500 miles via train and foot to go to the coveted Hampton Institute. At night, to pay for school, he would work as a school janitor, and by day, he was in class learning. Booker goes on to say, "At Hampton, I not only learned that it was not a disgrace to labor, but learned to love labor, not alone for its financial values, but for the labor's own sake and for the independence and self-reliance which the ability to do something with which the world wants done brings. At the Institute, I got my first taste of what it meant to live a life of unselfishness, my first knowledge of the fact that the happiest individuals are those who do the most to make others useful and happy." Booker would later graduate and move back to West Virginia, where he himself would be teaching to anyone who wanted to learn anything that he had to teach them. He would prep many of his students for Hampton, where they would not only attend, but also excel. This sparked interest from Hampton officials as Booker was brought back to Hampton to teach. During this time, he was tasked with an Indian education program and developing the night school at the Institute, and by the age of 25, he had set out to Tuskegee, Alabama, to start in the efforts of building a school for the Negro race. Throughout the remaining 25 plus years of Booker's life, he dedicated every ounce of energy and resource to the growth and development of the school. He saw his work at Tuskegee as laying a foundation for the masses. With the school's primary focus being in the industrial and agricultural industry, Booker would go on to teach the importance of a love for labor. This would go on to rub a certain class of black people the wrong way and would only heighten during the 1895 Atlanta Exposition speech, but I'll get into that in the next reel. The success of Tuskegee would grow as the alumni would graduate and be instant contributors in their communities. Yet there was still much work to be done. Booker would continue to travel up and down the East Coast and even to the White House, speaking to the promises of Tuskegee and the black race in general. His work became so prominent it even took him to Europe for a few months. Still, wherever he was, his heart and mind were at Tuskegee Institute. Booker wraps up the book with a full circle moment, speaking to the optimism and joy he feels as he gives a speech to a mixed audience in the same state he was born a slave in. Up from Slavery is by far one of the most motivational books ever to grace American literature, a steady reminder that quite literally anything is possible. Like if you enjoyed this segment, share if it could benefit others, subscribe for more book-related content. Till then, stay in the book and stay out the way.